Hello everyone and welcome to our session today on the sustainability imperative. How does HE need to change and how can it impact a societal shift? My name is Alice and I am the Senior Head of Product for Higher Education here at McGraw Hill. I'll shortly be kicking off with an overview of the work myself and the product team have been doing on this key area, and we'll then go into a discussion with our three panellists chaired by Dr. Katrin Muff. Towards the end of the session, we'll take some questions from the audience. So please do send those in as we go through, and we will answer them when we get to the end. Anything that we run out of time to answer, we will take offline and come back to you. When you do ask your questions, please use the Q&A box, but please do also use the chat box for general discussion and to share your thoughts on the topic. So to briefly talk about McGraw Hill's work to date in this area, as part of our sort of product team research in this area, at McGraw Hill, we are keenly aware of the importance of this sustainability imperative and the need for higher education to act now to ensure that students and institutions are prepared to tackle global challenges. So we've been conducting research to find out what is the current state of sustainability teaching. What does a future ideal state look like, and how can McGraw Hill support that drive to get there? Our research has taken place through workshops, surveys, lots of individual discussions, and focus groups. Here I've highlighted some key outcomes from this research. And to me, it's clear that for sustainability teaching to be effective across the sector, it needs to be part of the education agenda from the outset, not considered as an add-on, and those delivering it need to be supported and have it recognised as part of their role. It needs to be integrated into course curricula in a way that is relevant for students, but also needs to acknowledge the inherently interdisciplinary nature of this subject. Students also need to see future connections to employability and how it relates to their day-to-day lives. It needs to truly engage them and inspire them to take action. The sustainability agenda is intrinsically linked to the ongoing drive to decolonise curricula that we see across the sector. So teaching and any resources that are developed need to refer to this and look at global issues. We've heard that resources need to be accessible to support instructors who are delivering sustainability teaching where they are not necessarily the experts on those subjects themselves. So we need to provide something that is flexible and modular to support this interdisciplinarity and, of course, up to date to reflect the ever-changing nature of these issues that we face. I've been really inspired by all of the conversations that I've had so far, and I'm excited to shape a future product development in this area. And I think collaboration between McGraw Hill and our partners in higher education, yourselves, can deliver something truly impactful here. And we are also in a very privileged position at McGraw Hill to be able to facilitate much needed sharing of best practice in this area. And I'm delighted that today the session will give us further opportunity to explore this imperative and hear from some key players who I have had the pleasure of working with over recent months. With that, I'm honoured to introduce our chair, Dr. Katrin Muff. Katrin has been a key part of the Global Positive Impact Rating project, which enables business schools and in future also universities to measure their social impact based on the perception of their students. Katrin brings this social impact focus to our discussion today and an interest in the student and stakeholder perspectives. And up on screen, you can see her other distinguished accolades. So over to you, Katrin.
Thank you so much, Alice. It is a great pleasure for me today to host this conversation. We have ready for you three very interesting panelists who will start by providing their unique perspective to the conversation so that we can have a rich conversation about how higher education needs to change and what its role is in creating a societal shift, a positive societal impact, so to speak. And of course, there are several dimensions to it. It's educating students who are capable societal leaders. It's about providing relevant research And it's also about the institutional aspect of like the institutional presence. Is the institution walking the talk in the society it is active with? So I really look forward to hearing from Theo Ammari from the University of Sunderland in London, from Lorenzo Lotti, University College of London, UCL, and Jan Beyne of Antwerp Management School and University of Antwerp. And it's my great privilege to host that conversation with the three of you. To get started, I'm handing over to Theo for his introduction and his perspective. Theo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Katrin. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's a great pleasure to present here. Well, I'm Dr. Theo Ammari. I'm Senior Lecturer in Academic Development in University of Sunderland in London. I've started, I think, to work on sustainable development and education for sustainable development, I think, in a serious way, I think, since 2017, from when I was working in Coventry University, in which we established a working group with a number of lecturers from different faculties, and then developed embedding the goals into university curriculum. Today I'm going to talk about, I think, yes, sustainable development, and particularly education for sustainable development, and how they link into authenticity of university curriculum. Can go to my next slide. Yes, you know that the sector, higher education sector, is facing a number of big major challenges. I just put some of them in my first slide in here for you. I think accessibility and affordability, internationalization, quality and relevance, and technology and innovation are some of the major challenges that the sector is facing with. You know, the fees, for instance, living expenses, it creates a lot of, I think, barriers for and limit the opportunities for disadvantaged groups. Internationalization and opening to broad range of, I think, people from different nationality needs the sector to adopt new cultural and linguistic context to university curriculum. In terms of quality and relevance is very important because, you know, when we look at higher education institute, is a broad range from very kind of, I think, some of the institutes very much linked to what really people are struggling with in the real world problem solving situation, and some not. Is very much vary, I think, between higher education providers. Many employers are not really happy with the graduate profiles, the skills and competencies, knowledge that students need to be prepared to be able to engage and tackle and solve those real world problems in workplaces. The advance of technology, I think you can see the little picture in my slide, I think, for ChatGPT, which the GPT-3, which came out in November, and how fast it goes up. And now we have GPT-4 and perhaps few more, etc., in the next, on a daily basis. You know, they are all, I think, required the sector to adopt itself and invest in this kind of, I think, infrastructure and training. It looks like authentic curriculum and authentic assessment is somehow, I think, is a way that we can move to respond to these kind of challenges that the sector is facing with. Relevance is one of them. I think authentic curriculum provide, I think, those part of, I think, real life that learners and experience that learners needs to be engaged during the course of their study. It goes beyond the classroom framework and brings those real world problems into classroom discussion and prepares students to be able to develop those knowledge and skills that they need to have to be able to engage with those kind of issues. Engagement is another, I think, area that authentic curriculum allows higher education to be linked with the real world, with those kind of, I think, active and meaningful learning experience, and promote those kind of inquiry and curiosity. It integrates, authentic curriculum is actually integrates a broad range of different disciplines. You know, the nature of the questions that in the real world and the issues and problems that we are facing in real world most often requires a multidisciplinary approach. And that can be done through authenticity into the university curriculum. It is also promotes collaboration and reflection. It is about, I think, metacognition and encourages critical thinking with students, fosters collaboration and teamwork, and those skills that students need to develop to be engaged in those kind of issues in real workplaces. Obviously, following what I said, I think when it comes to authentic assessment, we definitely need to revisit and refresh the way that we assess students. I think about what has happened in the industry in the last 100 years, for instance, less than 100 years. You know, when Henry Ford opened the factory to produce the car, it was a single production line. From one end, the laborers were standing both sides of the rail and putting different parts of the car with each other, and from the other end, car was coming out. It was about, I think, 50, 60 years ago. And then think about now, look at these massive production plants, for instance, for Jaguar Land Rover. Tens of acre factory, you go inside, you can hardly see even one human over there. It's fully robotic, very complicated, I think, and that has happened in the industry in less than 100 years. In universities and higher education, the situation is slightly different. You know, if it wasn't COVID-19 in 2020, we would have still thinking whether we are going to use slides or these kind of, I think, digital technologies in teaching and learning or not. So that was a kind of golden opportunity for us to embrace to more innovative methods of teaching and learning and link it with the real world life. Now we are facing with these artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and these chatbots, which are producing human-like, high-quality written documents, and that really force us to think about the way that we assess students. Is it the right way of assessment or not? How can we get away from that? Again, this authenticity will be a kind of, I think, new way forward. I think to link what we teach to students to the real world life, the realism, and then the way that we design the task, whether we are cognitively challenging students from lower level thinking to higher level ones, how are we pushing them out of their comfort zone? Whether we are designing a kind of opportunity for them to embrace the unknown, to experience unexperienced, to boost their creativity skills, whether we inject some sort of soft skills into the task that they are doing, something like leadership and teamworking, communication, those kind of integrity, morals, and those kind of personal values, personal attributes, resilience, self-confidence, etc. So all these things we can think of. Whether we provide some opportunity for them to be able to develop the judgmental, I think, skills, evaluative judgment skills, whether they are able to check the quality of their work, whether they are able to check the quality of somebody else's work. This is what they need when they go to the real world workplaces. And all through these stages, feedback is central. The way that we conceptualize feedback to communicate with the students to see what they have done well, what they need to develop, and where to find answer for their questions. If I move to my next slide. Here in this slide, I have these 17 sustainable development goals. As you can see, this Agenda 2030, there are a broad range of areas which are covered, I think, from goal 1 to goal 17, from no poverty to partnership for the goals. Whatever discipline and program that we are engaged in university somehow is related to one or more of these sustainable development goals. The way forward, I think the thing is, when we talk about authenticity, we definitely need to think about these goals. I think somehow we can embed the goals within the curriculum, and by embedding the goals into university curriculum, we bring those issues that industries, communities, societies, and different countries across the globe are struggling with into our classroom discussions. The model that we introduced for students was a simple 3-step model to bring these goals into classroom environment. Next slide, I have the goals on. If I can move on to the next slides, please. Now is in this slide you can see my 3 steps model. In step 3, we encourage university educators to think about intended learning outcomes of the modules that they are teaching, and on a light touch, see which one of those 17 goals are the most related goals to the objectives that they are teaching in their modules. They might come up with a handful number of goals and reducing 169 targets of those goals to maximum 30 or 40. Again, not all of those targets are related to the objectives that those lecturers are facing with. So at the end of the day, they might come up with 10 or 15 targets for specific goals. The next thing that we ask and encourage educators to think about is social, economic, and environmental dimensions, to see what kind of areas that they can pick on and design an activity to address those goals inside classroom level. And then moving on into the next, the final step, to think about the level of knowledge and those soft skills and competencies that students need to develop and gain and be equipped with to be able to engage, tackle, and solve those questions. I think you still, yeah. I will hand it back to Katrin, because that was my final slide, and I hope I'm still connected. I'm not sure whether you can hear me or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Theo, for your interesting insights and for your overview into the sectoral challenges of higher education, and also the challenges in how to create authentic development, curriculum development and assessment for students. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We did hear you perfectly well, so thank you very much. With no further ado, I'd like to hand over to Lorenzo Lotti from University College London. Lorenzo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the invite, of course. So my name is Lorenzo Lotti. I'm Associate Professor at UCL, University College London. I lead a program, NECE program in Economics and Policy of Energy and Environment, and I'm the Deputy Director of Education for the department. Our department is the Bartlett School of Environment, Energy and Resources. So it's quite many decades that we are looking and talking about sustainability. And our teaching and research they are developing together, and we are very proud of our taught research programs. So within the context that I gave you, I wanted to talk to you about our new Sustainability and Higher Education initiative, which has a topic which is very much related to today's topic. So here we are. As you can see, with colleagues, we have just almost a year ago founded the initiative. So we want to drive forward sustainability in higher education, both at national and international levels. We are focusing on how to implement, evaluate, and research teaching and learning in sustainability. So exploring the connections and interconnections between the sustainability and teaching and learning. We would like to combine our 4 institutes, our department, and connect it more strongly with our alumni that are thousands now, with our current students, and with the rest of the higher education and general public interested in sustainability. So our 4 institutes are focusing on very different things. I'm from the Institute for Sustainable Resources, but we have the Institute for Sustainable Heritage, for example, or the Energy Institute. We are all part of the same department. So the goal is also to work together, talking about one thing that connects us very well, which is sustainability, because in very different ways we all talk about sustainability in our institutes, in our thought programs, in our research. So attending national and international higher education conferences, I've seen many colleagues from other universities talking further about sustainability and higher education, and we have so much experience and so many things to say about that. So we hope that our activities will really contribute to the current debate, and I'm very happy to be here for exactly that reason. A bit of background and on what we are doing, and we hope that this is something that of course can create some sort of discussion and debate with our participants today. So we are participating into conferences related to higher education and sustainability, like this one, for example. We run trainings for international partners on sustainability and how to teach sustainability. So training of the trainers, for example, both for companies and universities. One thing that we are very proud of is the fact that we are now writing our first book on the circular role of higher education for sustainability. So here we explore how, in fact, we have a circular relation between higher education and sustainability, where our applicants and then students come to university because they want to solve specific issues linked to sustainability, from their personal experience, from their country, from the area, from where they live, or related to their business and work field. So they come to higher education, they bring their story with them. They contribute to our community, they contribute to the what we discuss together within our programs, within our communities in higher education. And they also hear from other peers, they hear from academics, they hear at lecture, they get knowledge, but they also get stories. Yeah? They get context, they are often involved in societies and group works. And this is a clear way where a situation where there is a bilateral contribution, right? Not just the student coming and hearing things and learning things. And then after the programs, our students go out and do great things. So in my program, for example, we have many alumni that now have reached top positions in the most important international organizations and consultancies and universities on sustainability. We hear from them sometimes, but what they do, they sometimes come back and solve the original problem, the original issue that they wanted to solve. So we have had examples of students that have done a massive career change because they wanted to solve tackle a specific issue linked to sustainability. And then they went out and they just started doing that, bringing with them all the expertise and all the things learned and from their experience with higher education. Sometimes, and this is even a more circular situation, they come back to academia, they come back to our programs, teaching, supporting peers and new students. And that is also a great way of feeding back and contributing back within our education for sustainability. I think that's really amazing, and we have so many contributors, which are both academics or students that want to share their experience on that. We are hosting webinars and large networks, events, and they are open to the public. So we have run a couple this year already, and we hope to do more. And of course, this will establish, hopefully, will help establishing a big network in terms of sustainability, working with publishers, private companies, universities, and strengthening the network that is so important for sustainability. And also, it's important to leave the stage to the people that work with us, that learned with us, etc., etc. I think that perhaps we haven't done so well in the past. So we are creating lots of good practice, I think. We are mostly learning loads of things. So we are connecting with the great realities like McGraw that is so involved into sustainability. We are learning about other initiatives and centers within UCL. So we are perhaps a bit clustered, so we're trying to unify and learn from each other. So this is basically our initiative, and we are very happy to. I'm very happy to hear questions from all the attendees and participants today. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo, for your great example of what you're doing to connect sustainability across the different departments to create that network, that international network among stakeholders, and to consider teaching and learning more broadly. Look forward to hearing questions about that and to exploring that further. But before we do that, last but not least, I'd like to introduce Jan Beyne from the Antwerp Management School, which is a part of the Antwerp University. So, Jan, really looking forward to your remarks and thoughts. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Katrin. Hello, everyone. I'll keep it very short to have some time for discussion and dialogue with all of you. So my name is Jan Beyne. I'm assistant professor at Antwerp Management School, University of Antwerp. And I'd like to introduce you to a program that we designed with a lot of faculty in our school, which is called Global Leadership Skills. And you can see it already here that it is in line with our mission pillar, Global Citizens, Mastering the Art of Making Decisions and Leading People. So it's linked with global perspective, leading to ingenuity. It's linking to self-awareness, leading to cooperation, and to societal consciousness, leading to sustainability. And with this Global Leadership Skills program, we try to develop sustainable mindsets, working on what we call then these 3 enablers of sustainability intelligence. We believe that, and we already see it while doing this program for the last 4 or 5 years, that this self-awareness really leads to stronger cooperation with others. It's also in line with a global perspective and a global mindset. And societal consciousness really leads in our way of leading to sustainability in essential economic processes. Very short, this program is launched in all master programs. It's mandatory, and all master programs get actually 3 onboarding days. One onboarding day is on self-awareness, the second one is on global perspective, and the third one is on societal consciousness. They learn to work with each other around these kind of topics. And this not only in the onboarding days, but they do this program the whole year long. And let me just quickly point out 5 elements that are quite important in this program. First one is that we try to integrate it. We try to integrate it in all of our programs. If you are a master in finance, in innovation entrepreneurship, in human resource management, all the students get it. We really believe in experiential learning. So we try to use that as much as possible throughout the year. And maybe just go a little bit deeper in that. I will show you 5 steps how we try to do it. And the first one is really get thinking with new perspectives. It was already mentioned, the SDGs. I guess most of you are already familiar with it. But what about, for example, frames such as sustainable lifestyle goals or the good life goals? How can you integrate sustainability in your personal life? We also look at systems thinking approaches, where we use the integrated value framework by our colleague, Professor Wayne Visser, looking at what different system elements are in play, such as in the human system, the economic system, the knowledge system, etc. Looking at transformation triggers, forces of breakdown, disruption, discontent, disconnection, etc. But also looking at different innovation pathways. So this is thought in different master programs throughout the year, where we really try to integrate it. Second point of attention is that we really try to create a network. So really networking with peers during seminars, the Global Leadership Skills seminars, where we really focus on self-awareness. Who are you? What are you doing here during your master program, and where do you want to go as a person? For this, we go on location. So we're not staying in the walls of our school, but we go outside. And as you can see here on the picture, we had to be quite creative during the COVID time with the bubble balls to really ensure the distance between each other. After networking, getting to know each other, it's really important to get mission driven. And for that, we introduced action learning projects. Again, looking at experiential learning, looking also from a global perspective. So the teams that work in these action learning projects are people from mixed master programs, which means a student from finance will work together with a student of global management, etc., etc. They work on an action learning project where they need to create impact. They also need to measure their impact related to sustainability. For this, we use the framework of the SDGs, where they choose one SDG and try to integrate it from an integrated approach, an indivisible approach with other SDGs. There is an action learning fair where they present their project. There is also a paper they write around the whole journey around this action learning project, etc. And you could see that there are great examples, which I definitely can share later, or you can also find it on our website. Crazy things that our students are doing with real impact. Number 4 is getting practical with applied tools. And for that, we designed a Global Leadership Skills workbook. This is really kind of a diary for our students. So we don't look at it, we don't grade it, it's for them. It's a diary that they can use to reflect on the 3 pillars throughout the year. And then maybe the last point I wanted to mention on this is that throughout the year, they get inspired by organizations, profit, non-profit, corporate partners that we are working with as a school. And during 2 exchange events, they get to know each other. They challenge each other, the students and the companies, around the topics of societal consciousness, global perspective, and self-awareness. So this is really in a nutshell how we try to integrate sustainability at Antwerp Management School. And we also evaluate ourselves. We're not there yet, but we see that we're making improvements. And for that, we also want to measure our impact. How are we doing? Are we doing it the right way? Are the students happy with this? Are they not happy? And one way of measuring our impact is through the positive impact rating, where we also challenge our students to challenge us. What are we doing good? What are we looking at to create a better impact? And this is a kind of a cool tool because it's up to the students to rate our school. And we also use this in shaping up our sustainability plan for the future, where we really look at clear targets. We also provide or give feedback to the students on the feedback that they gave. So for that, we are now in the process of fine-tuning our sustainability strategy for the next coming years. And we also reach out to our partners, not only other universities and school, but also businesses, cities, governments, etc., to work together to create that positive impact. I'll keep it short, as I mentioned, and I'm happy to receive any questions, having a dialogue on this. So I pass on back to Katrin, and maybe we have a Q&A now.
Thank you so much, Jan. What a great closure to the three perspectives that we got introduced to here. Three very different approaches, and I think we got it intuitively exactly in the right order. With Theo starting with the sectoral challenges, Lorenzo looking at it from an institutional and a networking perspective across a university, and then Jan diving into what it means in terms of an educational program at the master's level. Very, very impressive, very inspiring. Thank you very much. Jan, let me take the ball that you kicked forward on the positive impact rating. I had, in preparation for today, looked at what students say around the world, what they would like their schools business schools to start doing and stop doing. And I thought this could be an interesting opening question to all three of you. What we ask students in the positive impact rating is a bunch of open questions at the end of the survey, and what they say that they would love their business schools to start doing is to provide courses that include practical skills that enable them to embrace the sustainability challenges as leaders in these times of volatile VUCA times, if we want. That's one thing they ask. A second thing they ask, which is interesting, they want us to bring in more external experts from broad fields, not just from the fields they study in, but from across fields, from NGOs, from business, from different types of organizations, from different sectors, from different orientations. And then third, they ask business schools to start to listen to students and to include them into their decision-making and strategy process. Jan, what the Antwerp Business School is doing is really applaudable, and your continuous effort with the positive impact rating is showing kind of how students can participate so well in this strategy development process with the management of the school. It's you're one of our fantastic case study examples that we're very happy to share. Some delight to see you here from Antwerp. And then maybe just a last insight. They ask schools to stop teaching sustainability only as an add-on, as a side, as a non-integrated part. So I see Theo, you're nodding to all of them. It's probably not so many news, but why don't we start with the first reaction round? What is your perspective in terms of how good we are in universities in general in listening to the student voice? Theo, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think those areas that you highlighted beautifully, you summarized those areas, and extremely important. I think this is the thing is you mentioned about including the students. That's extremely important, I think, in this field, because I remember, I think, when I started to work on these education for sustainable development, it was 2018, nearly 5 years ago. At the time, nearly 63% of students, junior students, year one students, wanted to see more sustainability in university programs. At the same time, very few lecturers, they knew what these SDGs are about and how to bring it into classroom level. They were waiting for governmental, I think, decisions and those sort of, I think, big things that normally people talk about in the United Nations or etc. And that was one of the things. Stop teaching about sustainability and linking their curriculum actually engage with these issues is another important area. I think the thing is, the more we go towards authenticity and authentic curriculum, the better we can respond to these kind of, I think, challenges that we are facing. It is beneficial for students, it is beneficial for the sector, it is beneficial for people outside the university. It is beneficial for students because at the same time that they can develop those skills and competencies, they will become familiar with those discourse and the nature of the questions that they will be facing when they leave university and enter into actual workplaces. It is beneficial for the sector because it can, I think it is actually for the sector, if I want to be a bit more radical, is a question of death and life, I think, because the nature of the problems and the nature of the university courses and the way that we assess students will be different in the next 10, 15 years, definitely. I think, and if we don't embrace with these kind of, I think, innovative and modern ways and embrace ourselves with the actual real world problems, we can't respond to new generations' questions. Katrin?
Thank you, Theo. You're talking about authentic development and assessment of students. Jan, I'm curious, how does that resonate with you?
Well, I think that's crucial. I think indeed to be authentic as a school, to be authentic as faculty towards students, will only help everyone forward. And it links a little bit with giving the students a voice, and that's what we really try to do. For example, we developed a materiality assessment on what is important as a school, where can we as a school have impact on. It's not a decision by the board or the faculty only. It's a decision by our key stakeholders as well, and those are the students. And that's how we can or might be authentic. And in a way, as I explained also in my presentation a bit, we're experimenting a bit with that as well. We're looking at, in literature, you call it value-based learning, where we really try to provide time and space to go into interaction with students, to really also develop their self-reflective practices. We experiment with project-based learning, where with these action learning projects, they really experiment. And maybe a last one I quickly highlight is the fact that we try to experiment with integrated learning. As I mentioned, we don't see sustainability as something ad hoc, as the students that I understood from the positive impact rating, don't want something sustainability as being ad hoc, but really integrated. So for that, I think we really need to break through the confines of subject-specific learning. It's not about finance and sustainability, it's about sustainable finance. So, and that is something that is not happening from one day to another. It's about getting everyone on board, and that's about authenticity. It's about getting faculty on board, getting students on board, getting your partners on board, etc.
Thank you, Jan. Lorenzo, this interdisciplinary as aspect of, the example of sustainability and finance, there could be any topics. I presume you have quite some experience in that as well through your networked approach. Tell us more.
Thank you for the question. In fact, our department is basically an interdisciplinary department. We are coming from completely different backgrounds, all of us academics, and so our students. So even in my program, which is the economics program, we have just 50% of students coming from an economics background. And I really I strongly support what Jan was saying about the importance of integrating and in a natural way sustainability. So I was thinking about when I was a student and I completed my studies some years ago. Out of 60 modules that I've studied, 1.5 were somehow linked with sustainability. So that's literally zero. But being at UCL for a long time, I saw the evolution on how the university, which is one of the many, but still has more than 40,000 students, is much more focused on students, their experience, their mental health well-being, their well-being in general. They have a much more inclusive approach when designing the curriculum and designing the teaching and learning. And in the last years, UCL has pledged to include sustainability in every taught program in UCL, so more than 300 programs. And I think that is the way to go. It will be a long road, so it's not that it will change from one day to another. And I'm sure there will be some barriers here and there. And that is something necessary. I don't think that everything changed from the past situation. Some months ago, I had a chat with another business school that is looking forward to engage in the same path with perhaps less expertise behind in terms of sustainability. And I was quite puzzled to hear their reply that was when we will be forced to do that, we will just Google things and implement things in the curriculum of our programs, which of course is not something that I think is in line with what Jan was suggesting just now. So it will be a long path, but the interdisciplinary is key, and also how we value from a research perspective the publications and research we do in the interdisciplinary journal is crucial. And this is particularly important for sectors like economics, where we are quite traditional and focused on specific standard journals and more than everything else. So we will need to be more interdisciplinary regardless the topic.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Looking at the questions we get from the audiences, here is a suggestion. Because I'd like to make this quite, well, I would love the audience to walk away with some good tips beyond what you've already provided. So rather than stop, like all of you have had challenges in getting your institution as far as you have got it already, what would be recommendations for you, for those listening, on how to overcome some of the key barriers that you have encountered on your journey? And Theo, maybe you would like to start.
Well, okay, thanks. This is a very interesting question, Katrin. My suggestion is, I think, don't wait for someone to come and provide the route for you, and from both, I think, individual and institutional. I think wherever we are, whatever position we have, we can start working towards, I think, embedding, as I really like the thing that Ian mentioned, I think integrating the goals into what we do, whether in the classroom or individual, I think, day-to-day duties. So we can have impact individually as well. And yeah, don't wait for someone else to, yes, prepare this for you.
Thank you, and I'll come back to you later with a follow-on question, kind of with regards to overcoming key. What was the key barrier in your institution, and the recommendation about that? But you'll have some time to think about it. Jan, what about you?
Yeah, I can talk about this, I think, for hours, but let me just also try to keep it very brief. Like, we have a lot of tools which we use to build our education model. I always compare it, and I actually heard that comparison from an educator that I worked with in the past, and he was looking at it from a Swiss pocket knife. You have different versions of that. You have like versions with a lot of knives and scissors and stuff. So if you Google a Swiss pocket knife, you'll find a lot of different versions. And actually, we build a lot of tools, and the Swiss pocket knife got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the challenge is now, if we want to become smarter in our education, if we want to become more inclusive, more equitable, more sustainable in our teaching, we have to be wise on using the pocket knife with the right tools. And we need to dare to also unlearn. And maybe that's also a last point I want to make. If we really want to change the system, we have to dare to unlearn. I like the quote, "The illiterate of the future are not those who can't read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And we can learn, unlearn, and relearn by working together, students, staff, faculty, within the walls of our school, but definitely also outside of the walls. We're living in a complex world with a lot of challenges, and as an academic industry, we need to work together with companies, governments, etc.
Thank you so much, Jan. So true. It's one thing for an individual to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and it's an entirely different challenge to do so as an institution. I'm curious, Lorenzo, what is your, and don't respond to, I mean, stay to your insight and your tip. Don't be distracted with my comment. What would be your recommendation for overcoming?
Yeah, I first of all, I very much agree with you. And the pandemic perhaps taught our institutions to be a little bit more dynamic in changing and adapting, right? So that flexibility could be perhaps could have some stickiness and stay there. Some things are very difficult and slow to change, but it is very true what we were saying about learning from the community, not just within our walls. And in general, an advice that I would give is not to try to reinvent the wheel, because it's already a disruption to try to change things and make things more sustainable and inclusive in general. So there is a lot out there. There are opportunities like this one where we can learn so much about our colleagues, and good practice is a great point for starting a journey. And reinventing the wheel is actually much more difficult.
Before we move on, Theo, I wanted to ask you to also provide a tip with regard to overcoming institutional challenges.
Well, yes, Katrin, I think institutional challenges, I think that my friends just mentioned, I think change management is the biggest, I think, challenges. I think from institutional level, I think when you embrace yourself with this kind of, I think, level of authenticity to integrate the goals, so it engage so many levels. When from educators, as Ian mentioned, about those active learning theories, to take them on board, I think, in their design of learning, whether it is project-based building, whether it is new ways of assessment to put it in place. Let's say, for instance, integrative assessment, that whether we can link the learning objectives of different modules with each other and define a project between a number of modules, that students could see how these modules are interrelated and how achievement in one can help them to achieve in the other, I think, modules objectives. So all of them needs a kind of, I think, mindset and huge, I think, holistic approach through the faculties, individuals in the faculties, departments, and change management is the biggest challenge in here. How to encourage those people to embrace these kind of new methods and how to overcome the resistance of those who don't want to change. As again, Ian mentioned something beautifully, to unlearn what they have learned in many, many years for the decades. I think that's one of the biggest one I can highlight it. Investment on infrastructure is another one. I think we will have to embrace technology. We cannot, for instance, we are facing in the time that ChatGPT and chatbots are in the market now, and you can see the majority of universities, at least in the UK, assessment is heavily depends on assignments, written documents, and heavy stake assignments. So we have to stay away from that. Staying away from that, we have to invest in infrastructure and in technology, how to use it. Again, another change management will come forward in terms of, I think, embedding technology on boards, whether how to use technology is another level again, whether we are using it to enhance something in the classroom or we are using it to transform the students' learning. There are a lot of areas that, yes, we have to think about and work on and prepare some sort of training and support for all levels of staff and stakeholders who are involved.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Theo. As I'm reading the comments, I'm also seeing questions about, your slides and your recommendations. Yes, they will all be shared. Really curious to see what Jan and what Lorenzo, what you're doing with the concrete examples that you've provided, and look forward to diving into that. Thank you for sharing that. My personal insight listening to you all would be, it is moments like this, it is conferences like this where we take a moment, we step outside our institutional roles, and we connect with people we haven't met before, we share new best practices, and we need more platforms like this so that we can learn from each other. There are a lot of tools out there. Being Swiss, I'm very familiar with the Swiss military knife, pocket knife that you mentioned. Indeed, I think we're tools rich, and the Swiss Army knife may have gotten so heavy we can't fit it in our pants anymore. But we also need to be able to authentically operate and operate at the individual, at the institutional, at the societal level, to have that awareness for the transformation that we need. And maybe just in closing, I mean, today the IPCC report came out and highlighted the urgency for all of us to act, and I would invite you to read up on that. And a big thank to the three great panelists, Theo, Lorenzo, and Jan. Thank you so much for your inspiration. Really appreciate it. I would like to hand over to Alice for closing words.
Thank you, Katrin, and thanks to all of you as well from me for that really insightful discussion. There's a lot there that we learnt. So thank you all in the audience for joining us for this session. As has been said, the slides will be available, and there will be a recording available on the platform afterwards for this session and any others in our conference. So yeah, just to say thank you all again, and this is a nice segue actually into our next session around ChatGPT and the future of learning. So I'm sure we'll see lots of you over there. Thanks very much.